What if the last breath you ever take isn't your last? Not from your perspective, anyway. What if, at the very precipice of oblivion, when the lights are supposed to go out for good, your personal reality simply edits the script? This isn't a question about the afterlife, religion, or ghost stories. It's a question that crawls out of the strangest, most rigorously tested field of science we have ever known, quantum mechanics. And it suggests something so profound, so utterly terrifying and beautiful, that it could change how you see every single second of your life from this moment forward. Today, we're not just talking about physics. We're talking about the nature of you. Let's take a journey to the edge of existence and ask a question that science can't yet answer. What if you are impossible to kill? Imagine it. The scene is sterile, painted in shades of white and pale blue. The only sound is the rhythmic, mechanical beep of the machine that is tethered to your life, a metronome counting down your final moments. You feel a profound weakness, a sense of dissolving. Your family is there, their faces a blur of grief. You try to speak to offer a final comfort, but the effort is too great. There's a strange sense of peace in the surrender. You accept it. This is the end. The beeping slows, becomes erratic, and then a long, unbroken tone fills the room. Silence. Oblivion. Except it's not. You open your eyes. The beeping is back, but it's steady, strong. The ceiling above you is the same. The smell of antiseptic still hangs in the air. But the faces around you are different now. Grief has been replaced by utter disbelieving shock. A nurse is checking your vitals with trembling hands. A doctor is muttering something about a 1 in a million anomaly. Your loved ones are crying, but these are tears of relief, of confusion. They say, "We thought you were gone." You were gone. To them, you were. They watched you die. They experienced the finality of that moment. But for you, there was no gap, no white light, no tunnel, no life flashing before your eyes. There was only a seamless continuation. The moment of death simply didn't happen. The world flickered for an instant, and you were back. This chilling scenario isn't just a fantasy. It's the personal, human entry point to one of the most mind-bending ideas ever conceived, quantum immortality. It starts with the unsettling question: what if death is something that only happens to you in the eyes of others? So what is this strange concept? At its heart, quantum immortality proposes that your consciousness, the subjective, first-person awareness that you call I, will never experience its own termination. Instead, every time you face a lethal event, your awareness, by its very nature, will continue on in a branch of reality where you survive, no matter how improbable that survival may be. Think of your life as a journey on a train. Most people believe that eventually the track comes to an end and the train stops. Quantum immortality suggests something else entirely. It says that at every junction where one track leads to a dead end, death, the track of reality splits. While one version of the train crashes, your consciousness, the passenger, is seamlessly switched onto the track that continues forward. You would never even feel the bump. You would only perceive a near miss, a miraculous recovery, or a stroke of impossible luck. From your perspective, you didn't dodge a bullet. The bullet simply exists in a world you are no longer a part of. This isn't about becoming a superhero who can't be harmed. It's about your awareness being unable to follow a storyline where it no longer exists. It's a stubborn persistence, rooted not in magic, but in the bizarre rules that govern the very fabric of our universe. To understand how this is even remotely possible, we have to shrink down. Way down. Down past atoms, past protons and neutrons to the quantum realm. Down here, the world stops making sense in the way we're used to. Particles, like electrons, don't have a definite location or a definite state. They exist in a haze of possibilities, a superposition of all potential outcomes at once. An electron isn't here or there. It's in both places simultaneously. A radioactive atom isn't decayed, or not decayed. It's both. This cloud of probability holds until something interacts with it, until it's measured or observed. This is the moment of collapse. According to the classic Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, the act of looking at the particle forces it to choose one state. The haze of possibility snaps into a single concrete reality. That electron is now here. That atom has now decayed. But here's the multi-trillion-dollar question that has haunted physicists for a century. Why? What is so special about observation that it forces reality to make up its mind? No one knows. This deep, fundamental mystery, this crack in our understanding of how the universe works, is what pried the door open for even stranger possibilities. It suggested that maybe, just maybe, reality doesn't choose at all. In the 1950s, a brilliant and audacious Princeton graduate student named U. Everett III looked at this problem and proposed a solution that was as elegant as it was staggering. He asked, what if there is no collapse? What if the universe doesn't choose one outcome? What if, at every quantum decision point, the universe itself splits, creating separate, parallel realities for every single possible outcome? Everett's many worlds interpretation suggests that reality is a constantly branching tree of universes. When that radioactive atom is in a state of being both decayed and not decayed, the universe cleaves in two. In one universe, the atom decays. In the other, it doesn't. Both outcomes happen. Both are equally real. Think about a simple decision in your own life. You're at a crossroads, debating whether to turn left or right. In the instant you make your choice and turn left, a separate universe branches off where an identical version of you turns right. That you is just as real as you are, living out the consequences of that other choice. Now multiply that by every quantum event happening trillions of times per second, all across the cosmos. The result is an infinite, ever-expanding tapestry of parallel worlds. The math behind this is surprisingly clean and consistent, which is why many theoretical physicists today take it very, very seriously. It removes the mysterious observer effect and just lets the physics play out. All of it. Now, let's connect these two colossal ideas, the branching universes of many worlds and your own personal consciousness. If every possible outcome of any event already exists in some parallel universe, then this has a profound implication for life and death. Let's go back to that near-death experience. A car is speeding towards you. In that split second, the universe branches into a near-infinite number of outcomes. In a vast number of these branches, the car hits you and you die. In another set of branches, you are critically injured. But in a small, perhaps minuscule fraction of those branches, a bird distracts the driver at the last millisecond, and he swerves. Or your foot slips on the curb, and you fall backward out of the car's path. Or the car's tire blows out, sending it spinning away from you. According to the theory of quantum immortality, your consciousness, the continuous thread of your subjective experience, can only perceive a reality in which it continues to exist. It cannot experience the timelines where you are annihilated, because the state of experiencing annihilation is a contradiction in terms. Therefore, your awareness will always automatically follow the path of survival, no matter how statistically unlikely that path might be. You would simply experience a heart-stopping near miss and think, wow, I am the luckiest person alive. You would have no idea that in countless other branches, your story just came to a tragic end. Death, from your own point of view, becomes an impossibility. This idea is so counterintuitive that physicists devised a thought experiment to push it to its absolute limit. It's called the quantum suicide experiment, most famously discussed by physicist Max Tegmark. It's grim, but it's the ultimate test of the concept. Imagine a person in a sealed room sitting in a chair. In front of them is a gun, but this isn't an ordinary gun. It's connected to a machine that measures the spin of a quantum particle. Each time the trigger is pulled, the machine measures the spin. If the spin is down, the gun clicks harmlessly. If the spin is up, the gun fires. It's a perfect 50-50th chance, governed by the unbreakable laws of quantum probability. Now, let's say an observer is watching this experiment from behind a thick soundproof wall. They pull the trigger once. From their perspective, there's a 50% chance they will see the person survive and a 50% chance they will see them die. If they run the experiment 10 times, the odds of the person surviving all 10 pulls are less than 1 in 1,000. But what does the person in the chair experience? According to Quantum Immortality, they pull the trigger. They hear a click. The spin was down. They pull it again. Click. And again. Click. And again for 10, 100, 1,000 times. From their subjective viewpoint, the gun never fires. They are experiencing a 1 in a trillion streak of impossible luck. Why? Because in all the universes where the spin was up and the gun fired, their consciousness ceased to be. Their awareness can only continue in the branches where the outcome was click. To the person in the chair, it would feel like they were immortal, protected by a cosmic force. To the outside world, however, they will be seen to die in half of all possible realities. It's a disturbing paradox, subjective immortality versus objective mortality. At this point, you might be thinking this sounds pretty good. Who wouldn't want to be immortal? But this is where the idea sheds its sci-fi glamour and reveals its true, horrifying face. Quantum immortality is not the blissful, ageless existence of vampires or gods. It's a curse of persistence. The theory doesn't say you will survive unharmed. It just says you will survive. This means you would survive the car crash, but perhaps you'd be left paralyzed from the neck down. You would survive a terrible fire, but with third-degree burns covering your body. You would survive diseases that should have killed you, but you will be left to wither away in a state of chronic, unending agony as your body decays around you. The real horror is not dying, but the potential of never being able to die. Imagine living through centuries. Your body would age, your bones would grow brittle, your mind would fray. You would watch every single person you have ever loved grow old and die, again and again. You would become a relic, a ghost trapped in an ever-deteriorating vessel, endlessly funneled into the most improbable and likely most painful scenarios that allow for the bare continuation of consciousness. This isn't a gift of eternal life. It's a sentence of eternal survival, stripped of all quality, meaning, and grace. The escape hatch of death, the final release from suffering that all living things have, will be forever locked for you. Now, before we get completely lost in this existential nightmare, it's crucial to point out the colossal pillar of salt on which this entire theory is built. It all hinges on one word: consciousness. And what is consciousness? We don't know. This is what philosopher David Chalmers called the hard problem. We can do the easy stuff. We can scan brains, map neural pathways, measure electrical signals, and identify the parts of the brain associated with memory, emotion, and reason. We can describe the physical mechanics of the brain in exquisite detail. But no one, not a single scientist or philosopher on Earth, can explain how a 3-pound lump of gray, fatty tissue performing electrochemical processes generates the subjective, qualitative experience of being you. How does the firing of neurons create the redness of a sunset, the taste of chocolate, the feeling of love, or the simple, profound awareness that you are you? We have no clue. Since quantum immortality is a theory about where this very awareness goes after a near-death event, it is fundamentally tied to something that science cannot yet define, measure, or even locate. It's a fascinating logical chain, but one of its most important links is, for now, completely missing. This missing link is a major reason why the vast majority of physicists dismiss quantum immortality, even if they subscribe to the many worlds theory. Science is built on a principle called falsifiability. A theory is only scientific if it can be tested in a way that could potentially prove it wrong. You can't test quantum immortality. Think about it. The only person who could ever gather evidence for it is the one experiencing it. They could live to be 200 years old, surviving plane crashes and plagues, and claim it as proof. But to everyone else, they're just an extreme statistical outlier. And they can never report back from the universes where they did die to tell us the theory is false. It's an inherently subjective, untestable idea. For this reason, most scientists relegate it to the realm of philosophy or metaphysics. It's a fascinating logical consequence that seems to follow from the many worlds interpretation, but it's not science. It's a ghost in the mathematical machine. That said, a few prominent physicists, like Tegmark and David Deutsch, have acknowledged that if you accept many worlds as true, this strange form of subjective immortality is a logically unavoidable, if unsettling, conclusion. And yet, our world is filled with stories that make you wonder. There's Vesna Volovi, the Serbian flight attendant who, in 1972, fell over 33,000 feet without a parachute after her plane exploded and survived. There are people who are the sole survivors of horrific crashes, who recover from stage 4 cancers with no medical explanation, who walk away from disasters that should have been certain death. We call these people miraculous. We call them lucky. But the lens of quantum immortality offers another interpretation. From the outside, their survival is a 1 in a billion anomaly. It's an event of staggering improbability. But from the inside, from the perspective of their own continuing consciousness, it was the only path available. Their awareness was simply tracking the rare, infinitesimally thin branch of reality where a cascade of unlikely events lined up perfectly to ensure their survival. To us, it's a miracle. To their subjective experience, it was inevitable. It makes you look at every miracle survivor story in a completely new and slightly eerie light. Let's take the dark side we discussed and push it even further. If awareness always persists by following the path of survival, over time, a person might find themselves in increasingly bizarre and improbable realities. To survive something that has a 99.999% fatality rate, the universe you continue on in might have to be one where the laws of physics bend in a strange way just for a moment, or where a series of wildly coincidental events occurred. After surviving enough of these events, your life might start to feel unnatural. The world around you would seem alien, as if you slipped into a slightly different dimension where things are just a little bit off. The familiar, probable outcomes of life would seem to vanish around you. You would become a living paradox, a remnant of a more stable reality, trapped in a timeline that had to twist itself into knots just to keep you conscious. The loneliness would be absolute. You wouldn't just be outliving your loved ones. You would be outliving the very fabric of the reality you were born into. It's the ultimate form of isolation. It's important to remember that the pioneers of this idea, Everett, Tegmark, and Deutsch, were not mystical gurus trying to prove we live forever. They were sober, serious physicists grappling with the mathematical implications of their theories. Hugh Everett developed many worlds because he was dissatisfied with the randomness and observer-centric nature of the Copenhagen interpretation. Max Tegmark explored the quantum suicide experiment as a way to illustrate the stark differences between subjective and objective reality in the many worlds framework. They didn't set out to create a theory of immortality. They simply followed the math where it led, and it led them to this strange, uncomfortable, and inescapable implication. The fact that the theory can't be disproven is what keeps it alive in the minds of thinkers and dreamers. It's the ultimate intellectual puzzle box. Once you see the logic, you can't unsee it, even if you can't prove it's real. So if we were to accept this as true, it would completely redefine our most fundamental certainty: death. Death would cease to be an event that you experience. It would become something that only happens to other people. You can experience grief. You can experience loss. You can experience the process of dying, right up to the final moment. But you can never experience the state of being dead. For everyone who knows you, your life will have a clear beginning, middle, and end. They will mourn you, tell stories about you, and move on. Your chapter in their book will close. But for you, the one who persists, there is no closure. There is only another heartbeat, another breath, another moment of awareness in a world that has just shed a version of you. Death becomes a perpetual departure that you are never present for. It's the final act of your play that you, the star, never get to see. Ultimately, quantum immortality doesn't offer a promise of safety, a path to wisdom, or a sense of cosmic purpose. It's a cold, neutral, and indifferent feature of a potential reality. It doesn't mean you are special or chosen. It simply implies that as long as there is a physical path forward for the continuation of your brain patterns, for consciousness to be sustained, your awareness will follow it. It's not a gift. It's not a curse. It just is. A consequence of the universe exploring every possibility. The awareness that is you is like a river flowing downhill. It will always follow the path of least resistance, which, in this case, is the path of continued existence. The continuation itself might be beautiful, it might be horrific, or it might be utterly mundane. The theory makes no promises about the quality of that survival, only its persistence. So after plunging into this rabbit hole of infinite universes, subjective immortality, and existential horror, what are we left with? What is the lesson we can bring back to our one, concrete, verifiable life? It's this: whether quantum immortality is true or not is ultimately irrelevant to how you should live. Whether this is the only timeline you will ever have, or just one of a trillion branches on an infinite tree, the fact remains that this is the one you are experiencing. Right here. Right now. The only thing you can ever be absolutely certain of is this very moment of awareness. This breath you're taking. This thought you're having. The point isn't to prove the theory, or to live recklessly in the hopes that you'll always survive. The point is to recognize the profound, almost sacred, value of the continuation you are already experiencing. Don't waste this precious awareness mourning the branches of the past you didn't take, or fearing a future end that you may, from your own perspective, never reach. The true takeaway from this mind-bending journey is the oldest wisdom in the book. Be present. Cherish this sliver of reality. Live it fully, with kindness, with courage, and with love. Because beyond all the cosmic speculation, this moment is the only thing you truly have. It is, and always will be, the only place you can ever live. So let me ask you, does the possibility of quantum immortality comfort you, or does it terrify you? And if you knew with absolute certainty that you would only ever experience survival, what would you do differently with the life you have right now? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for joining me on this journey to the very edge of understanding. Whatever reality you find yourself in, I sincerely wish you good health and a life filled with meaning. And if your reality includes enjoying content that challenges the way you see the world, consider hitting that subscribe button and joining us for the next exploration.